All right, folks, so this video is going to show you how to add components to a existing Revit model, a Revit project. We're going to be adding a toilet, a bed, well, two beds actually, a range, and a couch. The main thing you're going to do when you're done with this is submit me a screenshot of your level 1 floor plan with all the components in place. Other than that, that's going to be your kind of proof that you did this for me like we've been doing all along. You can download the video to your guacamole machine by logging into Google Classroom like we've done here several times. I think everybody's getting that now. Ask me if you need help with that. And I'm asking you, please watch this video from start to finish to get it all in your head. Just the big idea, and then come back and do the individual steps along the way. Try to absorb it and visualize yourself doing it as I do it, but don't actually do it. Then come back and do it at the end. Okay, so first get the overview, then come back. So I'll try to keep this brief for that reason, and we'll go from there. So this is our house. There are no beds in the bedroom. There's no toilet in the bathroom. There's no couch in the living room. And there's no range or stove in the kitchen. So those are the components that we're going to add. We are right here in our level 1 plan, which should probably open up when you open the document, but we'll see here. So, all right, so let's do this. So let's start with a toilet. So we've already learned a bit how to add some components. We've added walls, doors, windows. Those are technically components also. But then there's literal components, which are not like walls, windows, and doors are special types of components with special properties. Normal components are just objects that sit in the house. Okay, so that's mainly what we're looking at here today. So to place a component, I'm going to click the Place Component button. Okay, which was in the Architecture tab. And by default, it's bringing up a desk. Well, we need a toilet. I don't have a toilet already loaded in here. This shows me all the families they're called, or the components, the groups of components with different sizes that are already loaded in. And we don't need, none of those are what we want. So we want to load a family by clicking the Load Family button. And look at that, I'm already in the toilet category, but most of you are going to start out up here. Okay, so I'll show you how to get to the toilet area. The folder that has toilets in it, basically. So if you're ever lost in Revit, if you ever find yourself like in some kooky, crazy folder here where it's not the right folder and you're like, oh my God, I don't know where the stuff is, there's an Imperial Library button here that you can click, and it'll take you right to the U.S. Imperial Library of various components and families. So that's where we want to be. So get there if you're not. So anyways, a toilet is a type of plumbing. So we're going to find that in the plumbing folder. And you can just investigate these different folders, dig down into them. Like, I don't know, what's in the lighting category? External lighting. Oh, cool. There's like street lights that you can put outside. Again, if you get lost, you can go back up to the Imperial Library with that button. You can also go up one folder, just up to the last folder you were in. Like if the folders are nested, like Russian nesting dolls, you can go up to the last one. So anyways, we're going to find plumbing. Okay. In plumbing, we see two folders. So again, like, oh no, which do we pick? Well, you can just explore, but I'm going to tell you that architectural is usually is a good place to start. And then fixtures is also, that's where we want to go for things that are fixed to the walls. So that's, why we're getting here in fixtures. So you think about it, a sink is fixed to the wall, a shower is fixed to the wall and the floor. Okay. Now we don't see toilets right away. Well, in a lot of countries, they call toilets water closets. You'll see that in like the UK and in Canada and some other places like that, and some other Western countries that are not America. So if we double click water closets, that's going to take us on into where we want to go. And here we see a number of toilets again to choose from. Well, we don't want a commercial one and we don't want 2D. We want to be able to see it in the 3D model. So let's go with the toilet domestic 3D. Click open. And that is going to load that lovely toilet right on into our project. And we see it appear over here. We see that it is stuck to our mouse. If we want to rotate this, we can hit the space bar. We've talked about that a little bit with doors. That rotates things 90 degrees. And then we can get this in here and place it right where we want it. We'll notice it snaps to that wall. And our toilet is in place. Okay. Now we could cancel out of the component placement dialog by just mashing escape on the keyboard. But we want to actually add more components, so we're going to go right back into it. So I'll click place component here, and notice it brings me back to the toilet. So it's always going to bring you to the last thing that you placed. And like I've said earlier, you can pick stuff you've already loaded into your project from the menu here. But if we search bed, bed, we don't have any beds. So we need to load a bed family, load a whole family of bed components. So I'm going to click load family again. It's going to open up that same dialog. Now here again, we're in the water closets folder. So we either have to click up to get back, or we can click Imperial Library. That's probably quickest. And now, if we're placing beds, those are a type of furniture. So again, you can explore on your own, and there's lots of fun stuff in here too. And you see all those previews on the side, so you can explore on your own, but let's go into furniture. And this one's pretty easy. There's just like a beds folder right here. And there's lots of different beds, hospital beds. Please don't put a hospital bed in your house. I mean, some people need them in their house, but it's your call. But I'm recommending that you put a standard bed here. So we'll click that. We'll say open. Okay. And some families, like this one, have a couple different options. Some families, like the window family, have so many options that it will actually give you the option to just load the ones you want. But this one's so small, it just gives you the 4 right away. So why don't we put a double bed in the what do I want to call it? The guest bedroom here, let's say. So let's snap that right there in the corner. And now let's place a king size bed in our master bedroom over here. Big boy. Yeah, there we go. I think there's enough room for someone to walk there to get into the other parts of the bed. And now we have our 2 beds in place. All right. And adding the rest of the components is pretty much just as easy as this. We're just going to load family. And you can just kind of do this in rapid succession. So when you get going with this, I'm going to use the up button this time to get back to the US Imperial folder. When you get going with this, you can usually just rapid fire place these things because you start to know where everything is. But the tricky stuff comes in. Well, let's do the couch. I'll do the tricky thing last. The couch, let's see. So instead of beds, let's do seating. That makes sense, right? And now you're going to have to look through. Sometimes I pick one and use the arrow keys to just go through and look at the picture up there on the right. Ooh, how about that basic sofa? Nice basic sofa. This is a Le Corbusier sofa, but let's stick with a basic one. That's a famous architect and designer. I don't know who Pensy is, but I'm presuming that's the case too. So I'm going to open that. And as soon as you bring it in here, it should bring you right to the 72-inch sofa, which is probably what we want. We don't want a short one. I think this is more of like a love seat type size. I like the kind you can sprawl out on personally. Whoops. And I accidentally placed a sofa up there. We'll get rid of that in a second. So this, again, we can rotate with the space bar. Let's make it so the open part is facing the TV, and we get some snap lines here too to be able to line this right up with the TV. Let's line it up back there. That looks good. Then we'd have room for like an eating table over here if we wanted next to our little island. So if I want to get rid of one that I accidentally placed, I'm going to just hit escape, pick it by left clicking it once and then hitting the delete key on my keyboard. I don't believe, the backspace key works too. So try either of those. So finally, the tricky one here is the stove, because this kind of like the water closet, the toilet being in the water closet thing, you don't know where stoves are. So I'm going to show you. So stoves are a little tricky. So we'll go to place component, load a family. All right, a stove. Let's go back to our Imperial library. So stoves are actually going to be under specialty equipment. So follow me here, specialty equipment. Okay, domestic, because that's in like our house. And then there's actually 2 ends here. There's high end and mid range. I go with mid range. The high end's like fancy stuff, and the mid range is just like regular middle class sort of stuff. And then you can choose from an electric range, or a gas range. So let's put a gas range in here. I like those. We'll say open, and there it pops up on the left. Okay, let's hit spacebar to flip this thing around. It's not going to fit in that space as well as I thought. Well, unless sometimes it's hard to tell which way these things are facing. That's got to be the back. So you just got to kind of eyeball it like that. So in our case, it's clearly going to overlap a little. Maybe I had a different range in there. So I'm hitting escape to cancel out of this. And if you need to check which way it goes, go to your 3D view. Remember, you can find your 3D view over here on the right too by double clicking it in 3D views. And then you can manipulate this, hold shift and right click and drag to check and see. And let's see. Oh, yeah. Okay. So that stove was backwards. So good to know. So, so you want the thicker part, I guess, near the front here. So I'm going to click on that, hit space, and then slide it right back on in there into that opening there. And you can nudge these with the arrow keys. Whoops. Go. Get it centered. Hey, now our stove is facing the right way. So that is kind of the basic there of how to add these components. You can go in if you really want and you can adjust this, but this is just the practice. I don't really care what things look like, if they're perfect or not for you, but I just clicked on that counter and dragged it to make it so it's not overlapping. So if that's something you want to do, do it up. And that pretty much completes this house here. You can also rotate this with the view cube. So that, yeah, now you can just submit me a nice screenshot of this. I'm going to be looking for the 2 beds, the toilet, the couch, and the range. So Windows Shift S, you all know how to do this. Grab that screenshot in there, and that is what you can upload to me. So hopefully, hopefully this helps. It's a bit of a long video. I actually have to cut a tiny bit out of it because I had to make a tweak on the fly on that. But that is the basics of adding some components. The extra things you can do if you want to go look for more furniture, dressers, nightstands, side tables, armchairs, dining room table, other things in the furniture folders, go for it. Place them in there. You could also try placing base and wall cabinets. Those are in the casework folder, but I think I'll do a second video on that, and then you can work on your mansion planning too. So that is all, folks. Let me know if you have questions.